Hello and welcome to another video by ES Repair. I'm your host, Mr. Fix-It. In this video, I'm going to continue with building your own PC. And what we're going to do now, as you can see from the previous videos, I've got the motherboard installed, I've got my hard drive, my CD drive, my card reader, my solid state drive, and I got the cables to the front face plate connected to the motherboard. I've also got my Wi-Fi and any other expansion cards you need to install. What we're going to do now is, in the next step, we are going to install memory. Now, memory here is very important. Depends on the motherboard, how much it's going to support, what you want to do. Some of the boards can go up to 8 gigabytes. Other motherboards can go up to as much as 32. Some of the lower cost ones only go up to 4. But if you really want a good PC, you want to get at least 8 or higher. What I'm going to do here is, in this, I'm going to install 8 gigabytes. Each card that I'm going to insert is going to be 4 gigabytes. Now, you may also have noticed in these videos that my memory card, or the memory slots, are color-coded. This is because the motherboard supports what's called dual channel. Now, other motherboards can do quad channel, or it can do triple channel. It just depends on the manufacturer. This one here, as you can see here, this motherboard, according to the specs, is a dual channel motherboard. So, you'll notice that these are color coded. Now, not all manufacturers color code the slots. Some are all one color. And what you'll have to do is, you can check down here, and it's usually next to your motherboard. Let me see if I can zoom in and show it to you. You'll notice these writings right here next to it. It's going to say DIMM A1, DIMM A2, and so on. These indicate which slots are paired. In this case, it shows that DIMM A1 is paired to DIMM B1. So these are the two blue ones. So what we're going to do is we have to match them. Now, just to be sure, you can check in your book. The book will automatically tell you which pairs are paired, or which slots are paired. Now, in order to use dual channel, they have to be matched. Now, it's recommended that the modules be the same size, they have to be the same speed, and preferably the same manufacturer, because every manufacturer has their own designs which may conflict from one module to another depending on who made it. So in my opinion, I would recommend that you also have them matching manufacturers. Now, you can buy these in kits because if they say dual channel memory and you got 2 to a pack, they're not dual channel memory. What it means is that these are specifically paired by the manufacturer to be identical. In other words, twins. They're identical in every way to ensure that these memories work correctly in dual channel. That's all they mean by dual channel memory. Dual channel refers to the motherboard. The motherboard has 2 separate channels. A single channel only runs 64 bits of data, whereas dual channel has 2 separate 64-bit channels combining the total to 128 bit. So you're doubling the data throughput between the memory to the motherboard. So it increases the data bandwidth 2 times. Now, if you have the quad channel, then it multiplies it by 4. So 64 bits per channel times 4, and then that is the huge increase. Now, most motherboards you'll find are dual channel. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to insert these. You'll notice on the ends of these you have latches. What you'll need to do is push the latches back, and you'll notice they move back and forth. Let me move that cable out of the way. Now once you have the selected slots, some of the boards have 2, some of the boards have 3, some of the boards have 4. It just depends on the design and how much memory they'll support. Now this motherboard here supports 32 gigabytes, meaning that the maximum RAM that it can have per slot is 8 gigabytes. So what we're going to do, I've got all my levers pushed back. Now I'm going to take out one of the memory modules. Now you'll notice that these have heat sinks on them, as you see here. Now not all these memory modules have heat sinks. These have heat sinks because they've been overclocked by the manufacturer. These here can go up to, I believe it was 1866, if I recall. And these here have heat sinks because the higher the frequency that they're pushed, then the more heat they generate. So the heat sink here allows it to dissipate the excess heat. Now these are DDR3s. That's most common in today's computers. This is what the computer supports. Keep in mind that these motherboards will not support DDR2s or the DDR1s. These are specifically for the DDR3s. Now I do have a complete listing of the memory modules and the types on my website. Now they do have DDR4s, which are still new, but you will find some computers that can use DDR4s, which are more advanced than the DDR3s. Now to insert these, what you want to do is you want to check and see where the notch is on the module. DDR3s, if you look on the edges, the DDR1s and DDR2s had a rounded cuff link or a notch, whereas DDR3s, they're square. Now what you'll need to do is check the motherboard and see where the notch is at. You need to take the memory and line the notches together. The first one memory slot you want to install is the very first one. It's always DIMM A1, or it'll say DIMM 1. That or DIMM 0. That is always the first one. It's usually the closest one to the north bridge or the processor. And they are identified as to which slot they are. Now, once we do that, you slowly insert the memory card like so. You have the grooves on each end. You want to line them up. And until it gets to the bottom. Now, the next step you do is that you take even force on both ends and push them down. And you'll hear them snap. That means that they're secure. You'll feel a little resistance when you insert the card, but that's normal. You don't want to use excessive force because it will damage the board or the memory modules. You'll notice that the latches now are engaged into the memory module. That means that the memory module is secured. Now we do the next one. And you do the same thing for each memory module you're going to install. Now again, you have to take it, line up the notches, gently insert it, now as you can see, this is where you may run into some problems. The hard drive sits almost just over the modules. and it shows that they're very close. So you need to be careful when you're inserting these modules, because sometimes there's not enough space for the hard drive or the device and the memory module. But because I'm only going to install 8 gigabytes, which in my case is plenty, I don't have to worry about it. But I just wanted to point that out so you'll know about it. Now again, you just take the edges and gently push down until you hear it snap. Now, as you can see here, they're all pushed in. They're completely engaged into the memory modules. Let me see if I can turn that around. Now you'll see how they are completely. Now you'll see how they're completely engaged, and they're on both ends, and they're not loose. Now that means that they're completely engaged. I'll go ahead and close these others because I don't need them. Now you can arrange the memory any way you want. It depends on how much capacity that the memory modules have. Memory modules can range from 1 gigabyte as much as 8 gigabytes. Now what you want to do is, depending on how much memory you want to install, you want to make them even. For instance, since I'm going to install 8 gigabytes, I can do one of two things. I can either install 2 4 gigabyte memory, or I can install 4 2 gigabyte memory. It wouldn't matter because you get the same capacity. You don't want to put 8 gigabytes in 1 or 2 slots and then put 4 gigabytes in the other 2. It messes up the dual channel. You can if you want, as long as you're not going to use dual channel. But if you're going to, you want to be sure that you spread out the memory evenly, because what happens is the memory have certain amount of chips on them that the computer or the Northbridge, or in some cases the processor, some processors have a memory controller in them like the i7s. It's faster for them to address memory if all the memory modules are the same. If they're the exact same number of chips, then the addressing scheme is the same for all the modules. If you have one that's 8, one that's 4, then it's going to cause some issues and your computer won't be as efficient as it would if you spread them all out. If you have one 8 and one 4, then that's going to slow your computer down. But if you had 4 of the 4 gigabyte modules, then you'll get this better speed, better efficiency, and less trouble. Now you can always upgrade depending on how you want to do this. You don't have to use all 4 of the slots. You can just use 1 or 2 depending on how you want to configure your motherboard. But this is one of the basic ideas about installing memory. Now, as you can see, I got these set up for dual channel. I've got 4 gigabytes here, 4 gigabytes here. These are designed for dual channel use because they're identical, which is guaranteed by the manufacturer to be the exact same speed, size, and this is going to make the motherboard work more effectively. This way I can transfer, instead of 64 bits of information, I can transfer 128 bits of information per cycle. So, now once these are installed, if you want to install all of them, that's fine. Make sure that you have enough room to install them, especially if you're going to have memory with heat sinks on them, which makes them taller and take up more space. You want to make sure that you are getting the correct module. For instance, with the motherboard handbook, it will tell you exactly which modules are supported by the motherboard. It'll tell you everything from the manufacturer, the memory size, and the speeds of those memories that this motherboard will support. So you want to be sure that you read that book and make sure that you do get the appropriate memory modules that the motherboard supports. Well, this concludes this video. I've shown you how to install the memory into the computer and how to insert them to use dual channel. I've also showed you problems that you may run into, such as space when you insert the modules. You want to double check, make sure that the modules are designed for the motherboard or that the motherboard supports it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have about these videos that I'm putting up. And this is going to conclude this video. Stay tuned. I'm going to show you on more information as to continuing to build your own computer. So stay tuned to ES Repair for upcoming videos. I'm your host, Mr. Fix-It. Thank you for watching.